We are burning our equipment. We are keeping only our field kitchens and our hospital cars. All that I have left is a walking stick and a rifle. We are moving back, and we know that it is all over.
The Desert Fox is on the run. The Battle of El Alamein is over. After the Battle of El Alamein, Sergeant Strelo will fight on with the Africa Corps and will be captured in Tunisia by the British in May 1943. Sergeant Burns will continue to fight in the Algerian campaign. Later, with the 7th Armored Division, he will participate in the Normandy landings. With the decisive British victory at El Alamein, Rommel's Africa Corps is mortally wounded, and the grandiose German dream of conquest in the Middle East is forever shattered.
Witness the events that have shaped our lives. Witness the history. Witness our century.
World War II, history's greatest conflict, seen through the eyes of the soldiers who fought the battles. Hear their dramatic stories and witness the epic clash between Axis and Allies, victory and defeat from both sides of the battle line.
In the winter of 1940, a British storm breaks over Italian North Africa. For the first time in World War II, Allied troops take the initiative, smashing against the Italian front in northern Libya. The British advance is so swift that one Australian division alone captures over half the Italian-Libyan army. The whole Italian position in Africa is near a state of collapse. Before Mussolini can send out an SOS to his fellow dictator, the German High Command has analyzed the situation. Hitler creates the German Africa Corps, an elite arm of mechanized infantry, artillery, and armor. To lead this special unit, Hitler appoints a brilliant panzer commander, Erwin Rommel. Neither he nor his troops have experience in desert warfare. As soon as panzer troops come ashore, Rommel sends formations straight to the front to probe British forward lines. The Africa Corps must learn as they go. In one of the artillery batteries is a veteran of earlier German victories in Europe, Private Karl Bolst.
There are many Italian troops here who have been fighting over a year now. We have been told they are poorly led, that it is up to us to get them out of the trouble they are in. We are confident we will be able to show them how to be victorious.
April 3rd, driving over 500 miles, Rommel advances into Benghazi with a lightning thrust. He startles not only Rome and Berlin, but also the British. Within 10 days, the Germans have made a knifing advance across northern Libya, from the outskirts of Tripoli to the borders of Egypt. They can go no further without a supply line from the sea. Tobruk is that supply line, the only deep harbor between Benghazi and Alexandria. With the Allied troops falling back on Tobruk is an Australian infantry sergeant, Geoffrey Fernside.
It's been 6 days of touch and go, constantly strafed by aircraft, keeping one jump ahead of the German tanks ranging our flanks, in an effort to cut off our retreat back to the fixed defenses at Tobruk. We had one humorous incident before reaching Tobruk. In a dust storm, the lead truck went off on a tangent and commenced to circle around in the desert. When the mistake became apparent, one of our diggers yelled, "A fine howdy you bloody will do. Playing Ring of Rosies in the desert with jury on our tail." As we go through the perimeter of defenses, I feel strangely troubled. The Germans, no doubt, will surround the fortress and attack till it falls.
Good Friday, April 11th. Tobruk is isolated. The desert rats wait silently, dug in their holes in underground bunkers, allowing German tanks to come on through the outer perimeter. German infantry follows, thinking their tanks have cleared the way. This is just what the British want.
German tanks managed to pass through the outer defenses and go looking for our gun line. They get a rude shock when our men jump up from their slit trenches and get stuck into them. Of a shell, 26 men are hit in our leading platoon, removed from the order of battle, maybe from life itself. We march past our comrades, trying not to hear the sounds that are tearing our hearts wide open.
The German blitzkrieg is checked. Axis infantry breaks up in complete disorder. Rommel decides to wait for the arrival of the 15th Panzer Division while the German Luftwaffe harasses the British at Tobruk. May 25th, there is a lull in the fighting. Both sides take a break from battle and reorganize. Despite heavy losses, the Royal Navy still manages to deliver 84 tons of supplies a day and 16,000 troops.
We have just heard that Crete has fallen to the first paratroop invasion the world has ever seen. And we begin to have some second thoughts about the impregnability of our Tobruk fortress. We begin to fear that the Germans might attempt a parachute assault on us in such numbers that coinciding with a land attack, it might prove too much for us. Water is always a problem. We're rationed to about 2 cups a day. Out of this, we're supposed to wash, shave, keep our underclothes clean, and make tea. We keep it mostly for tea.
June 15th. The British now have more tanks, more men, and more planes than the Germans. Wavell launches Operation Battle Axe to destroy Rommel's forces and gain a decisive victory in North Africa.
We have been retreating for 3 days now. Before starting out, General Rommel ordered us to attach heavy chains and cables behind our trucks to stir up clouds of dust as we move across the desert. In this way, the enemy will think our force is larger than it really is, and so not close in on us. So far, the trick is working. And when we reach a good defensive position, we will turn and hit back hard.
Rommel's crack Panzer Division show the results of his hard discipline. The British take a beating. 2/3 of their tanks are destroyed. Infantry casualties tremendous. The British are driven back to where they started. Operation Battle Axe is a total failure.
The enemy is not close to our lines. He has elected to stay beyond our small arms fire and act purely as a containing force. We could adopt a passive role and sweat it out, but our commander, Major General Moorehead, insists on a policy of aggressive patrolling. From 100 positions all around the wire, reconnaissance and fighting patrols go out to harass the enemy. The Germans and Italians don't patrol to the extent we do and tend to react nervously. They booby-trap their front quite heavily, and most of our patrol casualties are due to anti-personnel mines rather than to direct enemy action.
We take special precaution against the night patrols of the Australians. They paint their faces and wear rubber shoes, and then they try to slip through our lines. They also carry bush knives, and we joke about it, but most of the men still don't like to see the night come.
Churchill removes Wavell from command and sends General Claude Auchinleck to succeed him. The Rats of Tobruk and the Western Desert Force combine to form the British 8th Army. Infantry and armored brigades of Scots, English, Australians, Poles, Indians, South Africans, and New Zealanders prepare for the biggest British offensive yet, Operation Crusader. November 17th, 1942. The British 8th Army, poised on the Libyan border, is about to launch Operation Crusader, their biggest offensive yet against Rommel's Africa Corps. A special British commando party has just raided Rommel's headquarters, but the mission is a failure. Operation Crusader begins. The big squeeze is on. At the same time, the Tobruk garrison breaks out.
Somehow it all seems preordained. Australian infantry with British supporting arms has held Tobruk for all these dreary months. Isn't it only right and just that Australians should take part in lifting the siege? Lord Haw has called us the rats of Tobruk. Well, the rats are coming out of the trap.
Now General Rommel rallies his forces and counter-thrusts. German tanks go on a wild rampage right through the British lines. They smash 8th Army headquarters and keep going. The Germans attempt to force the English back and take Tobruk. Rommel's daring nearly pays off, but he's stretched too thin. Auchinleck regroups his 8th Army. His orders, attack everything you see and keep on attacking.
No matter how long it might take, the feeling in the Afrika Korps is that we will win over the enemy. As Rommel said, if we want to go to the Suez Canal, we can. It is all hard to believe, but you want to believe.
By December 7th, a third of Rommel's command is destroyed. His tank strength down to only 30. With no prospect of reinforcements till early January, Rommel pulls back. For 3 more weeks, the Desert Fox falls back behind skillful rearguard action and escapes beyond Tobruk. Operation Crusader is over.
After nearly a whole year, those of us who are left are leaving Tobruk. The siege is over, and we're headed for Palestine and rest. We look back to the desert fortress for the last time. You can see nothing to indicate men fought and died there. The roadblocks, the tank traps, the perimeter wire, the graves, all have vanished behind the shimmering heat waves.
Today, for the first time, I heard some of my comrades begin to complain. The sooner we get out of here, they said, the better for us. Let the Italians keep Africa. And if they can't, then let the British have it. But then we reminded ourselves what Rommel told us, and the complaining stopped.
Rommel hurries to complete preparations for attack before the British do. Both sides know by now that the first blow is the one most likely to win the battle. On the evening of January 21st, 1942, armed with more than 100 new German tanks, Rommel makes that move. Again and again, Rommel blends defense with offense, drawing British tanks into baited traps. Whenever the British chase German armor, they suddenly come face to face with Rommel's batteries.
Most of the time, we know little